Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker stories. I'm especially excited for this one. I'm in conversation with Poonam Malpani. Thank you, Poonam, for accepting my invite. Before we dive into the interesting questions I have for you, Poonam, let's start off with a quick introduction. So, Poonam is a Paris based artist from Calcutta, blends Indian heritage with art, dance, and well being practices. She's a gold medalist from NIFT Kolkata. She has showcased her work globally from UNESCO to designing artwork for PM Modi's Paris visits. She teaches Bollywood dance, leads wellness retreats, and has received multiple honors for promoting Indian culture in France. Through her creativity, she continues to inspire and bridge cultures. So Poonam, this is like so many hats you wear as I read through your intro. And I think another thing to add to it, I had the honor of knowing Poonam in person because we both of us started our spiritual journey through the Yoga Institute of India together a couple of months back. So, Poonam, welcome to the conversation. And I'm quite excited to have you with me on this podcast today.
Thank you so much, Nishta. Yeah, such a beautiful introduction. When you hear it once again, you actually go back to all the things that you've done. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you for the beautiful reminders and thank you for inviting me for your beautiful show and good luck for your upcoming book and all the brilliant things that you're doing.
Thank
And
you
yeah,
so much, Poonam.
the yoga
Okay.
the yoga course was really cool. Like, getting to know each other, doing it together. It was another scene only, right?
Yeah. And I remember, Poonam, remember on one of our initial conversations, I especially WhatsApped you, and I was like, Poonam, it's like I found a tribe in you. Like I can just connect to you so effortlessly. And I think we then got talking and got into like different conversations on different topics, of course. And I must say, the cultural side of you, the artistic side of you, really speaks to I'm an artist with the words, I would say, because I'm an author. So it really
Absolutely.
speaks to that artistic side in me. So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely, Vishnu.
yeah, that leads me to our first question for you, Poonam. So, your journey from Kolkata to Paris is like really inspiring. How has living in different cultures influenced your artistic and creative expression over the years?
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh, a lot. Like a lot. So I was born and brought up in Calcutta in an artistic family, Nishtha. And when you are born in an artistic family, I swear you believe that everybody is artistic, because that's the environment that you grow up in. Also, Kolkata. I only realized Kolkata was such a creative city once I got out of Kolkata because I used to think the whole world is as creative as Kolkata. I don't know if you guys have heard of Durga Puja. It's humongous. Um, it's a Kolkata for me is a city that's stuck in a bubble of time. And we hold our art and music and harmonium and yoga classes very seriously and tabla classes. So every child in Kolkata has had teachers coming in and teaching them this. We've had the privilege of this. I used to think that all over India people get this. Uh, like I said, when I came to Bombay and I experienced Ganesh Chaturthi, which was fantastic. But the magnanimity of Durga Puja was something else. That's the time I was realizing that the installations happening in each lane of the city, the sculptors working on these sculptures for years, like the chanda that my dad used to give to these artists every month was like a lakh back then. I'm talking about 20 years ago was a thing to do. Like we could, like my dad is like, we are not going to buy this, we're not going to go shopping, but we have to give this money to the artist to create this for the Durga Puja. That's how much creativity I was born with. And my dad had a printing factory of saris. Now, a sari is a long 5 meter canvas, yeah. So we used to every day brainstorm ki aaj grey ke sath pink dalenge. Like these used to be our breakfast conversations. Like pistachio looks great with grey. Little did I know that, I mean, back then, now I come to know I was so privileged, yeah. I had such a beautiful childhood and it was open for us to express ourselves creatively.
Right.
And Calcutta ki kalakari, India ki colors, all of that came in with it. And I'm so grateful because once I moved from Calcutta to Paris. I was following my husband who did his HEC MBA here. And who says no to Paris, right? I'm an artist. I studied fashion. Who says no to Paris? I'm coming with you. We'll stay there for a couple of years. Never ended up going back home. Stayed here. We fell in love with Paris, really. And you know what Paris did was, if I learned motifs and colors in India, I learned this art of very authentic self-expression, very abstract art. Abstract art is very, very welcome here. Like even a dot would mean something. Like, to give you a little context of how art is perceived here, which I wish happens in India too, more and more. It's happening. It's going to take its time. People who are salaried people, who are doing like great jobs, who are getting the salaries, they would buy a painting from me and pay me in like 10 installments. That's how important art is for them, Nishtha. So I think this whole idea of having art in the house, like a living piece of art in the house from an artist, is so big. So that again gives you the confidence to create even more. Like in India, sometimes I used to hear back 20 years ago, I'm talking about still 18 years ago, I
Yeah,
would still hear, beta karte kya ho? And I would say, uncle, artist hu. Nahi, nahi, beta karte kya ho? Uncle, dance sikhati hu. It's never
yeah,
taken seriously.
yeah.
It's getting better now.
Right,
But over here, when I say I'm an artist, they all look up and they say, wow. And I
right.
think that is so motivating.
Yeah,
Another thing, Nishta, that I think worked for me was I was not expected to follow the French rules or the Indian rules here. So I could really be an
right.
artist. I could really express myself the way I wanted.
Yeah,
And art isn't judged here. Art is very welcome in whichever abstract way you put it, because there are a lot of abstract artists.
right.
So I learned like organization and colors from India, but I
Mm,
think I learned modern art in
right.
France. And I am someone who loves to fuse two things together. Like I love to take the traditional and the modern and make something out of it.
Uh,
And I think that's what happened here. If I answered your
yeah.
question, Nishtha.
And you did it beautifully, Poonam. And the way you described your whole journey, that at times it's like that famous Steve Jobs Stanford speech, right, where he said that you cannot connect the dots looking forward, but you can connect them looking backwards. So
Absolutely.
somewhere like you said, growing up in Kolkata, and I am married to someone who's like born and brought up in Calcutta. So now I have a Calcutta connection too. I remember we speaking on that as well. And I
Yeah.
can just relate to what you say. It's actually a city which is stuck beautifully,
Mm.
just standing still in time. And the time is slow, and just this beauty and slowness around that you can observe.
Yeah.
And like you said, the way it affected, the way I think molded your personality and the way you are, it's just beautiful. And it actually shows in your body or work as well. I think towards the end of the podcast, if we have a minute or so, you have to move your camera towards the beautiful Shiva painting that's lying in your room. It's right here. Great.
But I'll show you
So
a close up once we
yeah.
finish.
So this is like, the fusion of colors and just bringing yourself alive through your work. And yeah, it's beautiful self expression, Poonam. So this
Thanks,
brings
Nishtha.
me to a connected second question, Poonam. Uh, Even when I was, reading about you on social media or in our chats, I can see that you're someone who seamlessly weaves Indian heritage into your art, dance, well-being practices. I mean, we just got a quick sneak peek into the Shiva painting in your background, or how we were both together in yoga. I remember we having a conversation, and you mentioned you have done Vipassana multiple times, right? So I can see that there is Indian heritage sort of across, different domains that you are in. So how do you see the role of culture in sort of shaping the different paths that you take, both professionally and personally?
Dude, India has given me everything, Nishta. It's given me a huge, humongous identity. I've been living here 17 years. My husband has got a French passport. My son was born here. He has a French passport. I'm having so much trouble to give my beautiful blue passport because we don't have dual citizenship yet. And I get this OCI card, but they'll cut off my passport if I ever have to give it up. I'm not ready, dude. I'm not ready. I think, also, so there are many things. Let me try to put everything that I'm thinking of right now. Now, the one thing that comes to me now is, why are we not taught meditation, yoga, Bhagavad Gita in school? Like, I kept thinking, I learned all of this by myself much later in life, because I was dying, I was going through my own crisis. My son had just been born and I had postpartum depression, all of that. And that's when, you look at spirituality when you really like, when you've hit the rock bottom. Now, सबसे पहले तो I'm thinking कि हमको योगा, ठीक है, योगा सीखे हमने, like we all learned yoga, but we never learned yoga for what we learned in the course like we did. We never learned about breath. Um, uh, I wish that I had learned about all of this in school. My dadi would have so much belief in just this Lord Krishna, and she would tell us stories, and we would talk about so much spirituality in general. Like, phrases were thrown around, mantras were thrown around in general. Like, we were, even if people were not following what they were saying, which I wish that we do more often, we were still saying those things, continuously, the good things, the Gita ki part, yeah, all the wise quotes, and um community living, all of this. So it's, like, I go back to, I used to love watching Shiv GK, the Shiv Puran. I have a connection with Shiva since I was a child. Back then, I would also look at it and say there's so much superstition because we can take it to another extreme,
Right.
but India is the country of yoga. India is the country of extreme sacred wisdom. India is the country of Vedas. If you go back to, now that we're learning a little bit about Vedas and Yoga Sutras, don't you think, Nishtha, that all our problems, current day problems, are also written there? It's like a book that you can read and it's therapy. All the answers are there.
Yeah.
Like, how could I not, And another thing is, because I was not in there, because sometimes you can look at it and say there is so much superstitious happening. Aap full moon ko puja, you're fasting on a full moon, but you don't know. You're not telling me why you're fasting on a full moon. So
Hmm.
what happened was, I already had a basis. What I started to do was, started to meditate, started to do my research, started working with crystals, started working with my breath, started working with meditation, started working with yoga, started working with all of these self-help tools.
Right.
When I came here, why was it easier for me? Because I was doing it myself without any external noise. So that's one. And I, it, it's I just keep going back to India. I just keep going back to the ancient wisdom of India, because I've not found anything yet stronger than that. Did
Poonam, do
I?
you find, yeah, you answered it perfectly. And I was just wondering, do you find a lot of takers of all the Eastern wisdom in the West? Now that you teach dance, you're going to start teaching yoga and everything. So do you find takers for the Eastern wisdom? Do you think we have like spread the net wide now in terms of people, yes, looking at Eastern wisdom not as just it's just text written, but it is capable of giving you answers to your real day-to-day problems. Like you said, breath work, it can solve chronic illnesses, for instance. So
Completely.
have you seen that sort of acceptance or popularity of it?
So definitely, Nishtha, definitely. So let me tell you about this one incident during a Vipassana course. So from Paris, 1.5 hours away from Paris, there is a stunning, beautiful property where Vipassana is taught. Now, to
Mm.
get in there, you have to apply 3 months in advance, and some people have a wait period of 3 years. It's always full, Nishtha. And Vipassana, just let me remind you, is a 10-day meditation retreat in silence, and it's all free. 2025, we are sitting here and it's free. We are talking about free lodging, free. You just have to go there, show up, and meditate 10 hours a day. It's very hard. It's very hard to sit with yourself in silence, because you always, we're constantly looking at our phones and calling friends and eating something to avoid sitting with ourselves, our pain in general. Anyway, when I went there, Nishtha, I was aghast to see there were only two Indian girls there during a course of 100 people. And these guys had taken the whole discipline and management to another level because they felt like we are not Indians. So we've got to put in this extra effort to make sure that the entire Vipassana is happening like the way it's happening in India. It was mind blowing. And any of these Indian, if you talk about yoga or meditation, everything needs sadhana, everything needs practice, everything needs rigorous tapa, rigorous work every day, 2 hours, every day, 2 hours. Nobody, like, people look at, people hear 2 hours and they're like, Arey, 2 hours kiske paas hai? Who has 2 hours?
Yeah.
Any of this. I was amazed, Nishtha. So this is, of course, Vipassana. There is a huge, you don't realize until you go and see it yourself that there are many, many people following it. And I'm talking about from 18-year-olds to 80-year-olds,
Wow.
18 to 80-year-olds.
Yeah.
Having said all of this, Paris again as a city, I think is very, very open to, and they are getting super curious, about the Indian, anything Indian, anything Eastern, our Eastern philosophies, because I feel like everybody's gone through a lot of, it's a very fast moving, also we don't have, it's a very fast moving city. We don't have a lot of help when it comes to, India, you have a chauffeur, you can
Yeah.
afford a maid, you can afford help.
Mm.
We do everything ourselves. I see people, mother
Mm.
and father working. So
Mm.
ek to everybody is working, and they have 3 kids. Usually in France, people have a lot of kids.
Mhm.
I see them work hard. In times like this, where you have so much mental stress, you need this, and people are realizing this. Like, I have friends who are now enrolling for my yoga class already because they're like, I need to calm down. I need to calm down. It's definitely happening, Nishtha. Definitely.
So Poonam, this were we talked about, the positives that how things are of course picking up. And like you said, now artists, it's like people look up, wow, you're an artist. But I'm
Mm,
sure you would have seen some challenges along
mm,
the way as well. While
mm.
when I gave your intro, we went through the long list of prestigious honors you have to your name, right? Like you were a part of the UNESCO Art Camp, you've designed artwork from Prime Minister Modi's visits to Paris. But what were some of the challenges that you faced in gaining the recognition, in gaining the stature that you are at today?
This is such a great question, Nishtha. I think you know India. When I was in India, I was a somebody. I'd got the gold medal, and people kind of knew me. It was great. Yeah, you come to Paris and you realize you're a nobody. Like, you don't speak the language. You don't know how to cook. You don't know how to live yourself. You don't know how to change the light bulb. है ना? सबसे पहले तो I think I learned how to live. 5 years was just, it went into full depression of not feeling enough. You feel stupid on the roads when you're not being able to ask for a direction. So language was something which was such a huge barrier for me. Again, I used to be very complexed in India because I think the judgments were, at least back then, were very high when you would make a mistake in English. So I was already like, words weren't my power. Like, my superpower is my color and my dance. Words weren't. Now I'm much better, at using my words. So I think यहाँ पे जब आई, so I got very blocked. I took about 5 years to really learn the French. So that was one. Second thing is, now there is something called École des Beaux-Arts here, which is like the big art school in Paris. All the artists have passed out from this big art school. Like we have NIFT in India, you have École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Now, when I was in my second studio, I had the second studio 5, 6 years ago. Lovely people, a group of artists working together. So this is really me living my dream, dude. Like, I would enter the studio thinking, oh my God, I'm an artist in Paris. But having said that, under the deeper layers, I could sense that I was almost looked upon as an Indian girl who's just having fun, making some, art. And they would always look at me as, but you're not from Ekul the Buza, you're an Indian. Are you making this as a gift? Sometimes I'd paint and they're like, oh, you're thinking of giving a gift to someone. And funnily, at that time, I was selling a lot. Like, I would have clients coming in the studio to just buy my work
Oh.
because, again, it can become easier for an Indian artist because there are not too many Indian artists. So I bring the colors in, I
Mm.
bring the spirituality aspect in. So it makes it easier for me being an Indian artist here because there are not too many Indians.
Mhm.
So, but having said that, I did have this kind of, I realized it much later. I was having so much fun that I didn't realize. Only after leaving the studio, I'm like, oh, now I get it. I was not looked upon as an equal back then. Space is the problem, Nishtha. Space is such a big problem in Paris. Paris is really small and Paris is very expensive. So
Mhm.
to be able to, like I don't have a salary coming in every month end. So
Right.
that was another thing of sustaining myself and constantly motivating myself for not making, like telling myself that it's okay to not make money, but it's not okay to stop.
Right.
So this constant putting yourself out there, it's such a, you would know you're an artist. It's not easy to put yourself out there. It's a practice that you have to build, like, over time, the confidence that you have to build over time so that was another challenge, right? To show up every day for yourself and for your art and hold it. So I remember for the UNESCO, Nishtha, I had just given birth, going through a severe depression, and my husband, who was a huge supporter of my art, thankfully, he's so cool. He pushed me and he's like, you need to get out and get this, babe. Like, go to the UNESCO and represent India, and you're the right.
Mhm.
Nishta, 3 months I ran. I knew by the end of it, I knew everybody working in UNESCO Paris and UNESCO Delhi because I was like, I'm not giving up. I have to. So, yes, I mean, it's not been easy. It looks all easy and good, but I'm glad you asked this question. I think the trick is perseverance because a lot of people just give up, like so,
Yeah.
yeah, I worked hard for the UNESCO, but PM Modi came to me through, people because I was constantly, again, meeting a lot of artists, meeting a lot of people, making yourself known, going to the Indian embassy or going to the other Indian associations and telling them, dude, I'm here, but you've got to do your own marketing. और कोई करने वाला नहीं है ना आपको
Yeah.
अपने बारे में खुद को ही बताना पड़ेगा कि मैं ये कर रही हूँ, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
So I think I did a lot of that,
Mhm.
still doing it. And after 16 years, I can say I have such a beautiful Indian community here, Nishtha. It's incredible.
Wow.
Ha.
But Poonam, like, you've so beautifully, just stated and honestly so the challenges that you face through this. And like you said, it's just showing up for yourself. And
Ha.
at times, I think it's perseverance, like you said, na, ki day one, you may not see results on day one or even a day 10 or a day 30,
The
but it's to
time
do
of time,
with,
Nishtha, have
yeah,
taken over a decade, yeah. And we are,
yeah.
let me tell you, Nishtha, Europe is at war right now. People are
Hmm.
saving the money. European mindset has never been about saving money. Like I said, I've got buyers constantly. Last 3 years have been so difficult as an artist,
Right.
which is why
Yeah.
doing different things help because it keeps getting, the
Yeah.
money rolling. And we need money to live. I can
Right.
very aram se say that I'm a depressed artist. I don't want money, but let's be
Right.
practical. We live in a
Yeah.
capitalistic world. We need to pay our bills. How
Yeah.
how do we do it?
Yeah.
तो बहुत हार्ड है यार निष्ठा इजी नहीं है sometimes you hit the high but when you hit
Right.
the low it hurts too.
But I think, Poonam, like you said, so of course, writing is, and this is so relatable. No, I'm just trying to put my thoughts together. You so beautifully said at times, we just paint a picture like art and earning money, or, the non-conventional career paths don't go hand in hand with the monetary benefits or those sort of things, right? But like you said, it at times, if you're really passionate about something, you will find a way versus
Completely
being a depressed artist or somebody who's given into the corporate rat race and has given up totally on your passion.
on
you
the
need
passion.
you need to find ways to marry both these things together. Like, I also have a day job, but
Mm.
because I love writing, I decided that, okay, this just came to me. Even the book, like you said, UNESCO came to you after you had just given birth. The idea for this book came to me while I was pregnant,
Mm.
at my first book, Awakening the Rainmaker. And the story was that I was conscious to talk about my pregnancy to in my company, because I thought, how would they perceive me? Like, I was in the CEO's office and the organization was great, the policies were great, everything was good. But in my mind, like, it was a pressure I was just putting on myself
Yourself.
on how will I be perceived uh, when I'm pregnant. Like, they would feel like, oh, will she be able to take up the pressure or the work? And that
Can you
got me,
imagine, Nishta?
yeah. And that got me reading Poonam, and I realized that, oh, there are not many Indian authors who have written about the
Mm.
topic from a very Indian lens. कि ऐसे मोर्चा नहीं करना है कि, just like, yeah, everything is wrong in the world, ऐसा type का नहीं, but
Mm.
something to do with finding practical solutions to these problems while taking everyone in your stride. Like, it takes a village to raise a kid, so you just identify that village. Your organization needs to play a role, your partner, your family needs to play a role, and you need to
Absolutely.
play a very sort of a very assertive role in setting those boundaries कि यार मुझे
Oh,
ये भी करना है, मुझे ये
completely.
भी करना है.
But
I can
Nishtha,
have it all,
if
you
you
know.
had not done it, or if I had not done this UNESCO, if I am not true to myself, or if I'm not taking care of
Yeah,
my self-expression, my need of creative self-expression,
yeah,
how the hell will I take care of my child?
yeah,
You've got to
right.
face yourself first.
Face
And
yourself.
this is such a big thing we are talking about, right? Like, I just keep looking at my mom and I'm like, Mom, you're gonna turn 70, tell me what you like. And she still struggles to answer, man, Nishtha.
Yeah,
So yeah.
because that's a different generation, I would say. And I think this is so important in our generation and
Mm,
for our future generations to be a true to ourselves and talk about these things. That, of
completely.
course, there would be struggles. Of course, somewhere you have to marry passion and, getting that money in so that you can sustain a life. But let's not
Absolutely.
give up on either of the two. You need
Completely.
to be at it
Find a
to find
balance,
some
na?
balance. Yeah.
But you're talking about again, right? The Surya and the Ida and the Pingala. You're talking about our sun and the moon, right? Our moon
Yeah.
is our emotions and creativity. Our sun, which is the right side of the body, which is our confidence and action and creation and money, all of that. So absolutely, we have to find this balance. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much, Poonam. So far, we have had such an open conversation, and we have, sort of talked about everything, the good and the bad, the challenges and
Mm,
how to counter those challenges. And that leads
mm,
me to the last question of our interaction today. What advice would you give, Poonam, to young artists? And these artists, like when we were talking about you, you're someone who's into art, into dance, and now into well-being through yoga. So what advice would you give to folks who are not in those conventional careers and
mm.
who want to explore a creative career? Like, how can they navigate the non-conventional careers and the challenges which would be thrown towards them as they explore this path?
You know, पहली चीज तो that I want to say is believe in your magic. Don't wait for someone else to believe in it. सबसे पहले तो like believe. And we all, Nishtha, have this thing that we are a superhero inside our systems. We all know we are superheroes. You've got to trust that, and to be able to be that superhero outside in the world, you need practice. You need practice. So you can't stop creating. I always say this. I think each one of us, we are all artists in our own way. My mom used to clean the house so beautifully. You write with words. There is someone I meet cleaning my cleaning lady. I think she's the biggest artist. The way she cleans up the whole house, we're all artists. We've just not practiced enough. And I think the fear holds us back. And the fear is normal. Even before this interview today, I was sitting down and meditating because there's always butterflies. Yeah, fear kahan jayenge? Fear to हमारे अंदर है. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway is that one thing. Second thing that I would like to say, which, Nishtha, when I spoke about a depressed artist, I've been there in my whole of 20s when I lost my best friend, my dad, many things when I changed, when I came to Paris. I used to just be like, oh my God, my emotions only on the left side, right? My emotions all the time. I learned in my 30s with the meditation, with the yoga, with all my sadhana, with all my deep practices that I can't be here. I've got to find a balance. So that is another thing that we just spoke about is make sure that you know where the money is coming from.
Mm.
You can't and it'll come, like you said, like there's enough abundance in the world. Like of course you have your lows and your highs, but you've got to make sure that like you're doing something. Like either you have a husband who's very very something. You're either you have a job going on the side and on a Saturday and Sunday. I know of many people actually here. A lot of my dance students, they're working half time, so they're working like 3 4 days, and the rest 3 days. An author, her name is Fanny, and she takes 3 days every week to write. So perseverance is such a huge thing. Believing in yourself, but showing up for yourself every day, doing it every day. Don't get stuck in that race of making so much money that that is all you're thinking about, or only thinking about your creative outlet. Find
Right.
that balance. And
Right.
yoga is great to find that balance. Any kind of meditation is great to find that balance. balance. Any kind of breath work is great to find that balance. So yeah, um, yeah, I guess pretty much. Yeah,
That's a
this
beautiful advice, Poonam. And I would just add one thing to it. I think never stop learning.
ah,
Continue to learn, because we met through yoga. We were trying to learn something. We were
absolutely.
trying to learn it in a structured way. Like we both have dabbled into yoga in some shape or form before meeting through the Yoga Institute. But we just wanted to learn it in a structured way, not just the physical part of it, but the
Completely.
emotional, mental part of it as well. So yeah, I think one important aspect would be don't stop learning, and you never know, what fits in where. And
Absolutely, Nishtha.
you know
100% I agree with you. And I think matlab, there is so much to learn. I think a lifetime or many lifetimes also less. Na? There is so
yeah.
much to learn. So, yeah, you've got to be a student all the time. I agree with you. Beautifully said.
So thank you so much, Poonam. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you for taking the time out on a weekend for this. And I am sure my our audience would also go away with so much wisdom from this conversation. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Nishtha. It was so much fun. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for this moment between the two of us. And I hope you all have enjoyed yourselves.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Nishtha.